Nearly a full board this evening. My goodness, you show-offs. All right. Good evening and welcome to the December 18th, 2023 meeting of the City of Summit Zoning Board of Adjustment. My name is Stephen Spur and I am Chairman of the Summit Zoning Board. In accordance with New Jersey Statute 10:4-10, adequate notice of this meeting has been provided to a newspaper of record and has been posted here in City Hall. This meeting is a judicial proceeding. Any questions or comments must be limited to the issues that are relevant to what the board may legally consider in reaching a decision, and a quorum appropriate to a judicial hearing must be maintained at all times. For the benefit of the interested public, this meeting is being live streamed to the city's YouTube page and also broadcast on Summit's government channel, which is Comcast Channel 34 and Verizon Channel 30. Please note that fire exits are to my right, your left, and at the back of the room where you entered. The city has a listening system to assist the hearing impaired. If anyone needs hearing assistance, please obtain the system here at the dais and return it after our meeting. Andy Ball is the zoning board's attorney. He will advise board members on matters of law and is the key interface with an applicant's attorney. Mr. Ball does not vote on the applications. Stephanie Sulios is a city employee and the zoning board secretary. Ms. Sulios assists applicants with the preparation of their applications, planning our agendas, and keeping our meeting minutes. Ms. Sulios does not vote on the applications. Our board consists of 7 regular members and up to 4 alternates. All members can participate in the hearings tonight, but a maximum of 7 can vote. Most applications require a simple majority to be approved. Some applications require 5 affirmative votes to be approved. You'll be told which majority will be required before we begin our deliberations. Ms. Sulios, who please call the roll of the members.
Sure. Chairman Spur?
Here.
Vice Chairman Steiner?
Here.
Ms. Newell?
Here.
Mr. Gonzalez?
Here.
Mr. Mullen?
Here.
Mr. Malay?
Here.
Mr. Loikitz?
Here.
Ms. Toth?
Here.
Ms. Sager?
Here.
Mr. Feskins is excused. Mr. Yuko?
Here.
You have a quorum. You may proceed.
We generally hear the applications in the order they are listed on the agenda. We try to have each hearing last no more than 30 minutes, but we do understand that some applications are too complex to be heard within that time frame. Each hearing begins with an applicant or their attorney giving an overview of the application and the variances that are required. We then hear from any expert witnesses the applicant may have to help explain the application and why the variances are needed. The board members may ask questions of the applicant, their attorney, and the expert witnesses. Once the board professionals and board members have completed their questioning, the public will have an opportunity to ask questions. This is not the time to tell us what you think about this application. That opportunity comes at the end of the hearing. Before you ask your questions, please clearly state your name and spell your last name, as well as provide your address. It is important that our court reporter be able to keep a clear and accurate public record. The court reporting is actually done through the audio-visual system, so important you speak clearly into the microphone. After all witnesses have heard, members of the interested public have been heard, members of the interested public have their second opportunity to speak, and at that time, you may express your opinion, positive or negative, about the application. Then the public hearing is closed and we enter into executive session where the board members discuss the application and vote. You will be able to listen to our executive session, but you will not normally be able to participate in our discussion. Most applications are heard and decided in the same evening. If an application requires additional information or testimony that cannot be presented tonight, we will carry our application to another date and it will not be decided during this meeting. Krista Anderson, the city's zoning officer, has asked that I remind all applicants that they must read carefully the resolution that documents the zoning board's decision, and to pay particular attention to the conditions contained in the resolution. For example, if a landscaping plan is required, you must obtain one and submit it to John Linson, the city's forester. If a grading plan is required, you must have one prepared by a civil engineer and submit 3 copies along with the application fee to the city's engineering division. Failure to satisfy all conditions in a resolution will result in a delay in approving your application, as it will necessitate additional follow-up from zoning and other city staff. The resolutions documenting the board's decision will normally be available 1 month after we decide the application. Before we hear briefly from the applicants, if you please rise and join me for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay. So now we'll just quickly tick through the applications as they're listed on the agenda. What I'll ask is a representative, an attorney, or the applicant themselves from each of the applications to just come forward here at the podium. I'll just ask you again if you have any witnesses with you this evening and how long you think the application will take. So we'll start at the top, 38 Ascot Way. Good evening.
Good evening. My name is Jodel Pratt.
Resident 38 Ascot Way. I have my architect, Jerry Bruno, with me here tonight.
Perfect. How does 30 minutes sound?
I think more than enough.
Wonderful, excellent, good answer. Everyone listen up. All right. 32 Edison Drive.
Good evening. Donald Fiore, I'm the architect. Client is on his way over.
Okay. We'll see how the first case progresses. If we need to, for whatever reason, a delay, we'll just push it later in the
You ready?
agenda.
Yes.
Cool, great. Next, 45 Templar Way.
Good evening, Daniel Terrell from 45 Templar Way, and with me here tonight is our architect, Tom Conway.
Okay, excellent, thank you. Next is 477 West End Avenue, which we're actually gonna carry, so let's come back to that in just a moment. The next application we'll hear would be 99 Woodland Avenue.
Good evening, Mr. Chairman, members of the board, Samantha Alfonso of Alfonso and Weber, here on behalf of the applicants, Andy and Amy Houseman, at 99 Woodland Avenue. We have 3 witnesses, potentially only 2, depending on how late we are, and if the board wants to hear questions of him instead of direct testimony.
Okay, I won't ask you about the 30-minute mark, but let's see what everyone else can do for you.
I think we could.
All right,
Thank
Sam.
you.
So we'll go back just quickly administratively to 77 West End Avenue. So the board received notice today that this applicant wishes to carry the application due to some questions about floodplain regulations and its application to what they're trying to accomplish. So with that, I think we're looking at what? March 4th. We'll see them in the spring nearly next. So we would just ask, and is there anyone here for that application? Sorry, before we move this, 77 West End Avenue. Nope, okay. So we would just ask for a motion to carry the application to March 4th, waiving the time with which the board has to act. Anything else supposed to qualify? No? Excellent. All right, do we have a motion?
So moved.
Thank you. Second? David? David Mullen gets the second.
Vice Chairman Steiner?
Yes.
Ms. Newell?
Yes.
Mr. Gonzalez?
Yes.
Mr. Mullen?
Yes.
Mr. Malay?
Yes.
Mr. Loiketz?
Yes.
Chairman Spurr?
Yes.
The motion carries.
Okay. Back to the top of the order, 38 Ascot Way. We're going to take, we'll swear the applicant in first here.
If you could please raise your right hand. Do you swear affirm the testimony you're about to give in this matter, the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
Yes, I do.
State your name, spell your last name?
Sure. Joseph Delpret, just the last name spelling, you said?
Yes.
Sure. DEL, space capital PRETE.
Thank you.
Okay, excellent. Before we hear from your company witness, if you can just tell us a little bit about the application, what you're here seeking to accomplish, and then we'll move in.
Sure thing. So really what my family is trying to accomplish, we are trying to expand upon the home that we currently have. I am representing my family tonight as my wife is currently with our newborn child. So as you can see and understand, with an expanding family, which we hope to continue to expand, our living space, we hope to also, make a little bit more cozier. So that is really what we're trying to gain from this. Largely, we're doing what the variance is for. It's to put an addition above what is currently the living room and kitchen space. That will again afford us the room that we believe will really help enable our family in terms of more bedroom space. My wife works from home 4 out of the 5 days of the week. So again, that kind of hybrid work schedule, having more space in the home would just be a lot more suitable to our needs.
Okay, excellent. Questions from the board for the applicant?
Well, the only one, I mean, your next door neighbor at 34 Ascot, have you had who's closest to the proposed addition?
Yes.
Have you had a conversation with them about this, and what are they saying?
Funny you say that. So we actually, I don't believe have had a conversation about this specifically. In the last couple months, we actually just had a permit approved for a fence to border all our sides. And when I had asked her and broached her about that, because it would be on her side, her response is pretty much like, you'll get to know I do not care about these things whatsoever. I'm very, very easygoing, and so I don't think she has an issue.
Okay. Nothing like a second floor addition to test that theory, so let's see,
Yeah,
right?
that is true.
Okay. I know you have an architect with you this evening. Any other questions from the board for the applicant? Otherwise, are there any members of the interested public here for 38 Ascot? All right, we're going to fly then, no problem. All right, I think we can move then to the architect, and Marie, I think after we hear from him, anything you want to chime in with, we'll let you speak. So we're going to swear you in.
If you raise your right hand, do you swear or affirm the testimony you're about to give in this matter is the truth, the whole truth, nothing but the truth?
Yes, I do.
Please state your name, spell your last name.
Yes, my name is Jerry, J-E-R-Y, Anthony Bruno, B-R-U-N-O, Jr.
Thank you, and can you briefly describe your background and experience for the board?
Yes, I also brought for the board, this is my first time in the board, I brought my credentials, if you'd like that. That's all.
I don't think we need to see the paperwork.
You brought it, though, let's see, yeah. But tell us a little bit about yourself. There's a first here, this is pretty neat. Tom, no pressure back there, all right?
I'm a graduate of 1996, New Jersey Institute of Technology. I have over 25 years of experience. My background is in historic preservation. I worked for a historic preservation architect for 12 years in Bernardsville, Mark Allen Hewitt. My practice is in West Caldwell. I've done work in Summit before. This is just my first hearing in front of Summit.
Okay.
I'm registered, obviously, here in New York, but Pennsylvania, New Jersey, New York, Pennsylvania, Connecticut, and Florida.
Cool. Wonderful.
Any questions, or would you like to accept
No, we
this?
appreciate your preparation, very impressive, and welcome to your first hearing in Summit.
And I've been in front of other variance boards before.
Of course, excellent. Well, you're welcome to begin your testimony.
Okay, great. Yeah, I'm gonna, let's see. I apologize, I thought there would be an easel here, so I'll do the best I can holding this
We
up.
got a willing applicant.
I just asked the board to please concentrate on this and not be distracted by my good looks. It shouldn't be too hard for you.
There we go.
So tonight, we're here because we're proposing a second floor addition over an existing one-story structure to our split-level home. The house was built in the 1960s. We're asking for one variance, and that's a side yard setback. If you start with the site plan, you can see the left side of the house here is where we're planning to extrude above the existing first floor. And the little triangulation area is what we're, is non-conforming to the setback code. It's 9 feet. We're not planning to exceed past that nonconformity. Again, you'll see in a moment the extrusion of the second floor. We also, in doing this, we do conform to all the other setbacks, as well as the building height and the lot coverage and building coverage. The lot coverage and building coverage is just slightly over what's existing, even though we're extruding upward, and that's because of a small bay window we're proposing as part of the architecture, which I'll get into in a moment. If the house, since it was built in the 60s, if it was just shifted ever so slightly, we probably wouldn't be here for the variance, or the house is pie-shaped. If it was more of a rectangular shaped lot, probably would avoid this corner. So, thanks, Joe. That here. This is our existing floor plans. The first floor on the left side is our living space, which is our living room, dining room, kitchen. This is the area where we're planning to build over. And if we go to the existing second floor, you can see this dashed line area is the attic. Our plans to take the roof off there, reinforce the ceiling, and then add our second floor. And you'll see in a moment how we're going to add the staircase through the existing house to that space. And, oh, I'm sorry, wrong. And this is our existing elevations of the house. You can see the split level, and this is our front of the house. This is the left side, which we're planning to build above. And it's literally just a little corner on the front, and then when it wraps around this side here, it's just a little swath there where it would be over the setback line. And these are our proposed floor plans. Even though first floor is not part of the variance, we're still doing some improvements to the house. We're going to be renovating the kitchen. The back has this sunroom that we're going to change out the windows and do a nicer window treatment. But the addition's really the second floor above that attic space here. And you could see all the way to the right, part of the bedroom wing, there's an existing bathroom. We're going to renovate the bathroom here to make it a little smaller so we could have our access stair up to that level. And that level consists of a laundry room. Currently, the laundry room's down at the far left corner of the basement. We'd like to get it close to the bedrooms so we don't have to keep going up and down the split. And then the master bedroom suite. We have our bedroom in the front of the house, our bathroom and closet on the back. Due to the plumbing, we're connecting to the existing sewer line in the back. And then the front of the house, you could see our little bump out for the bay window, which I'll show you in a moment from the elevations. And our proposed elevations, we'll start with the front of the house. And what we're proposing is for the second floor to do a gable roof. There's some other examples in the neighborhood of similar types of treatments. And the gable roof, to the left of the gable roof here is our bay window. That's centered with the dining room window below. And then the bottom level on the front is a brick. Our plan is to do this intermediate band detail to help the transition from the brick to the shingles. And that band wraps around the side of the house and around the back. And the back is just a simple extrusion of the front. It's the same gable roof as the front of the house. The siding treatment is wide plank shingles that are, or wide exposure shingles to match the house. And then what we're also proposing on the house is these little bracket details on the gable and these little corbels around the house. We want to give the house a little architecture, give it a sort of a craftsman flair to it. And then also on the back of the house, which again is not part of the variance, but some of the improvements with the sunroom on the back here. You can see the different window treatment from the photographs. And that's our proposal, and we thank you for inviting us tonight.
Great, thank you very much. Maria, I saw your extensive engineer's report. I don't even know if we should condition the application on the engineer's report in this instance.
I don't even know if we should. You know what, just for the record though,
Yeah.
is there anything you're changing about the deck in the back? Were there patios that you're changing?
No,
the decks or
we're not
anything?
changing anything. I mean, Joe might later change the balustrade on it, you know, update it a little bit, but the deck is staying exactly the same.
Okay. Yeah, there's no change in footprint or anything like that. I don't see any reason, there's no engineering comments on it.
Okay, all right. I think we will forego the condition then. Any questions from the board then for the architect or the applicant? No? Okay. Diana, you had something on your mind?
Yeah, I was gonna.
Oh, go ahead, go
Oh,
Claire. Yeah?
Go ahead, Diane.
No, Diana had that look in her eye, like she was gonna say
The
something.
FAR is compliant? and-
Oh, yes, the FAR is compliant. It's on the site plan sheet, the
And
calculation.
this is really just about the pie-shaped,
Yes,
lot.
yep, and it's just that one little corner.
Mhm.
Okay,
Go ahead, Claire.
that's all I have.
I had a question, your zoning data calculations on sheet ST1, for your setbacks. this is what happens when I retire. I have time to go through all this stuff. But the difference between the existing and proposed, particularly front yard, side yard, rear yard, are those under proposed, the numbers just look odd enough? Are you only talking about the addition there, or the house
It's
as?
just that, the addition, that's the setbacks for.
Okay, okay. I thought that was that the math looked a little odd otherwise. Okay.
Because the rear yard, technically, the sunroom, it
Right.
is shorter, but,
Right.
I'm
No,
going- I'm
it-
going with the addition
Sure,
setbacks.
sure, it was, your right side yard went from 18.9 to 51.5.
Yeah, that's because of the addition.
Right, because you're only measuring the
I
addition.
just wanted to make sure,
Okay.
that, tell the board we're fitting
Right.
the addition
Right.
within the perimeter.
Any other questions from the board then? We don't have to work too hard here, but thank you, Claire, for being thorough. We're glad to have you in retired status. Okay. Nothing further, I suppose, from the architect, and he's your only witness for this evening?
That is correct.
Okay. I'll ask again if there's anyone here from the interested public for 38 Ascot Way. No. I'll note there's no conditions, at least proposed, before the board enters deliberations. Anything you'd like to say in conclusion?
No, just that I appreciate everyone's time hearing us out, and obviously we hope to be able to start this in the near future and, just continue this incredible run in Summit. We were renting for a few years, and we just moved into this house in March, and again, looking at a lot of many beautiful years here, so.
Not wasting any time, I like that.
No, hitting the ground
All
running.
right, yeah, for sure. All right, with no conditions noted, though a couple notes for Andy to put into the resolution, we'd like to begin the deliberations. Claire? Go ahead.
I don't even get to vote on this one, but certainly I can support this. You're making some nice architectural changes to the house. That corner where you're over the setback essentially faces nothing. So your neighbor may see it, but you won't be looking into her windows. That neighborhood is essentially originally identical split levels all the way around, and I did notice, I think 25 Ascot is the nearest that has the exact same treatment,
believe
but
that
this will help. There have been certainly many other upgrades in the neighborhood, and I think that this is another one that will improve the overall neighborhood. So you meet the positive criteria there, and I don't see any negatives. If I could vote, I'd vote for it.
Excellent. Anyone care to add to Claire's?
Now, I'll just note that triangle area exists now, it's getting higher, it's not getting any covering more area, it's just getting higher. And even building up there, like, as was noted, there's no FAR concerns here, so it's really, a very simple case for me too.
Okay. All right, well, let's stop it there. I think I too could support the application. It's generally restrained, and as Tom and Claire both noted, the lot irregularity, if anything, is really driving the requirement here, because the request is so minimal. We don't anticipate, though there is no neighbors in attendance this evening, any necessarily negative impact and shadows being cast, flow of air, you name it. Seems like it should be in pretty good shape. So with that, I would ask for a motion to approve the application.
So moved.
Thank you. A second? Hyman, all right. Roll call.
Vice Chairman Steiner?
Yes.
Ms. Knoll? Yes. Mr. Gonzalez?
Yes.
Mr. Mullen?
Yes.
Mr. Malay?
Yes.
Mr. Loikett?
Yes.
Chairman Spur?
Yes.
The motion carries.
All right. Good luck.
Great.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
Next, we're going to hear 32 Edison Drive. I think I saw the applicants come through.
See Warren's credentials.
No, I like this. This is very impressive. We should get an autograph or something. You can grab a seat here at the table if you like, as the applicants. I'll give you a moment to set up, so.
Best on this side?
Yeah, it works. You're being videotaped, so I'm not sure really what the best camera angle is. Awesome. So we're going to start with the applicants. You may both be sworn in or one if you'd like, kind of up to you.
So whoever's testifying, if you could please raise your right hand. Do you swear from the testimony you're about to give in this matter is the truth, the whole truth, nothing but the truth?
Yes.
And then one at a time, please state your name, spell your last name.
My name is Audrey Pantages, P-A-N-T-A-G-I-S.
You, sir?
Anthony Pantages, P-A-N-T-A-G-I-S.
Awesome. And we're going to hand it over to your architect here in just a moment. All we really need you to do is just briefly introduce the application, give us a sense of what you're trying to accomplish. Board likely won't have any questions, but whoever would like to speak, just speak clearly in the microphone if you can.
Before we do get started, I just want to note for the record that Mr. Yuko has recused from this application.
I didn't see him sneak out. All right. Okay. Whomever would like to start. Yep.
We're replacing the existing little structure, little steps with a deck in the backyard. And that's the existing structure that was there was in disrepair.
Okay.
I just want to add something.
Yep. You just speak into the microphone for us.
Okay, I
Yep.
just want to add, I prepared a statement.
If you have it, yeah, we welcome it. Doesn't have to be bound or color or anything, don't worry. No, it's great, thank you.
So I'm just coming to you as a mom here.
All right.
Like my husband was saying, we are just trying to build a deck, and essentially it's for our daughter, Alexandra. Here she is. And we're essentially just trying to get a safe space for her to play. As you know, our house is on a slant on the backyard. And it's just frankly not very easy or really safe for her out there. We can't put a swing set and all these like first world problems. We can't put a pool, all of those things. We do sometimes play out in the front yard, but with her being a runner, it's just not really safe since we don't have fences on our front yard. So with her being very active, we just want a safe space for her to play, and that's really why we're doing this. So that's my take.
Excellent, thank you very much. Thank you both. Any questions for the applicants before we hand it over? Claire,
So
anything?
oh,
Sorry. No,
So the deck that's on there now, is that coming down, or is that?
Hopefully not.
No, that's the existing. We basically, what's there now is basically we took bad advice from previous contractor that's no longer involved in the project, and that's why that existing structure is there. Immediately when we were informed to stop, we stopped.
Okay.
Not a question. Again, we are very unfamiliar with the process. And that's when we hired Don to help us.
All right, Don will have all the answers.
Okay.
Sorry, I did see you. You were chomping at it. Go ahead. Yeah?
I had a couple of questions. One is, your neighbor, as you face your front door to your right, I think that's number 34.
Yes.
They don't have a deck. I could kind of peek through your fence. I couldn't peek through your fence the other way.
They do. They
do
have.
They
yes.
do.
It's on
So-
the opposite side, so we can't see it.
Okay,
Yeah.
okay, because, I mean, I think one of the staff comments, there was a little concern expressed about, you know, your neighbor seeing everything that happens there.
Actually,
But-
that neighbor to our right that you're mentioning, she and him, Elizabeth and Bob, they did text me, and they just wanted to know what we were doing. I said we were building a deck. That's what the paperwork kind of stated. And all they said was, that's lovely, just let us know when you finish it so that we can work around our work from home calls. I said, no problem, I can do that.
Okay.
So that was their concern, and
And the other question I had, because, I mean, there was an existing paver patio there, and I fully appreciate why you'd want to just build the deck on top of the corner pavers. But have you given any thought to removing some of the others? Just thinking of rainwater being able to permeate the backyard a little better?
I have no issue doing that. That's necessary. I have no issue.
removing the papers.
Removing it.
Oh, yeah.
Okay, we'll mark that thought, right?
Okay.
Let's hear what Don has
Yeah,
to say.
Yeah, what's
and-
pervious, what's
Yeah,
impervious?
let's talk about the calculations maybe with Don, and then we can
Yeah,
decide if
okay.
we want to do some trading. So,
Okay.
fair enough. Any other questions from members of the board for the applicant? Are there any members of the interested public here for this application, 35 Edison? People got something better to do? Okay. All right. Hearing no members of the interested public, Don, we're going to swear you in, and then you can dig into the meat and potatoes
Do
here.
you swear affirm the testimony you're about to give in this matter is the truth, the whole truth, nothing but the truth?
I do.
Please state your name, spell your last name.
Donald Fiore, F-I-O-R-E.
Thank you, and can you briefly describe your background and experience?
Sure. I have a Bachelor's of Architecture from New Jersey Institute of Technology. I've been a licensed architect since 1988, practicing down in this area since 93 with our firm. I became a partner in 97 and are currently the owner of the firm. Testified between planning boards, board of adjustments, historics throughout the area. And I believe I've been to this board, though it's been probably pre-COVID, so it's been a couple of years.
License in New Jersey is in good standing?
Yes, for architecture, yes.
Any questions from the board, or would you like to accept his credentials?
License is the important part. You accept your credentials. You may begin.
Thank you. I'll try and make this very brief because I think you actually went through some of the questions already. In terms of the history for the project, what happened essentially, as they've described, the project started to get framed. There was a misunderstanding, whether it's on the contractor's part, not sure what he was up to, but the frame deck that we're showing attached on our site plan was built. No railings, no stairs, but that portion of it has been built and it is in place. They've received a stop work order, and then a few months later, we were retained to assist in getting to tonight and applying for building permits. So that's where the drawing is actually set up, is that this project approved is ready to go right in for building permits. There was real no exception to the deck as it was built, just that it did not have the permits in place. One administrative issue that I want to bring up very quickly, in the zone, mistake on my part, I followed an initial zoning interpretation that they received when they got their stop work order, that it's in the R5 zone. It is not, it's in the R6. In comparing the two zones, same 3 variances are required. There's no difference in that regard. The difference is the degree of relief requested. I do have an annotated copy of the zoning schedule that would have the corrected numbers on it. I have copies for the board.
Does your annotated version align with Krista Anderson's zoning
Yes,
memo?
yes.
Okay.
And there's no disagreement in that regard.
Okay.
It's just basically, I went by the initial interpretation they received back on May 31st.
If you have them, let's pass them around. We'll enter it as Exhibit A1. I don't think it made it to the packets, Stephanie, right? No? Okay. As long as you align with Krista, that's the important part.
Thanks.
Here, I'll pass it along for you here. Yep.
All right, any of the deviations are obviously in the pink, so you can see them very clearly on what this is doing. In terms of the lot, it's moving it from the R5 to the R6 zone and requirements. In terms of the variance for the deck itself, again, it's the same 3 variances. For the rear yard setback for the deck, we are proposing 20.1 feet as it's built. The requirement is 30 feet. There's a deviation of 9.9 feet. It should be noted that the existing patio, which this deck was put over, is currently conforming at 21 feet. The mistake that was made there was that initially the contractor, I believe, made the presumption that, oh, it's already there, we can just go up. The one point that I would add to that is the question about the pervious nature of this. In the ordinance, it's required that deck is included in the building coverage. It's always been a question to me because my argument would be it's an impervious structure, but it's going into something that essentially is a pervious volume. So I believe it was stated that there would be an agreement that we could remove the existing concrete pavers below that deck to reduce that impervious coverage, though it won't really change the calculations because the deck is going to be considered. So it is a practical, good solution. Mathematically, it's not going to change much of anything. So in that regard, just something to consider.
Okay, we'll think about that. Okay, yep. Maria's wheels are turning, so yep, we're working on it.
Okay, for the building coverage, this is where the one big difference jumps in. We are proposing 33.8%. 20% is permitted. It's a deviation of 13.8%. Now, the existing house is already at 30.8%, so the increase of this deck is 3%. Again, I'm looking back at the nature of the pervious versus impervious. These are not changing the calculations, but it's the requirement that the deck be included in the building coverage calculation. As far as the lot coverage, the existing conditions are 46.7%. We are proposing, we're proposing 46.7%, where in the R6 it's 40% permitted. Our increase is 0.4%. That's basically the concrete landing pad for the stair coming off the deck. So that's really just something that we would put in, as a matter of fact, just to make this a safe, reasonable access point. In terms of the neighborhood, the neighborhood is basically built, it's a residential neighborhood, single family for the most part. 2 lots away, there is a condominium development. In the neighborhood, the question again about the decks on the neighboring properties. There are 2 decks to the left, deck to the rear. You go 4 properties down, they have a deck built to the property line. There are sheds. It's a small residential neighborhood. The deck, as it's proposed, is not inconsistent with that aspect of the neighborhood, though it's not permitted in the zone. In terms of the lot coverage, again, this is a de minimis application. I think the lot coverage is 0.4%. That has no material impact on the drainage for the property at all. And if the consideration is given to removing the pavers, again, mathematically, it does not improve anything, but it will improve the practical aspects of the property itself. For the rear yard, again, this is a situation where the construction was presumed to be permitted above the patio. Reality is there's an additional 10-foot setback for the elevated deck. In that regard, it's not introducing a use in the backyard that's not there. It's literally, it is elevating it. So the patio exists, the patio has been there, the patio was there before the house was purchased. So the use and the intensity of that use, those are already there on the property. That's no different. It's just a matter of raising it. So at that point, the question gets to be that additional setback for the deck. For my mind, the property is screened. There are 6-foot stockade fences around all of these properties. The nature of the rolling hills of this neighborhood, when you stand on our property and look at the neighboring properties, you see a deck. You don't have to go far to see these things. It's the nature of the topography within the neighborhood. So it's not a foreign element. In that regard, I don't know that there's I don't have a detrimental impact to the neighboring properties or to the neighborhoods. I believe we've discussed with the neighbor to the rear the ability to add landscape screening across the rear property line. That is something that has been discussed and would be offered.
Okay.
So, I mean, at that point, I would suggest 6 to 8 foot arborvitae along the fence line. In terms of the, the professional reports, we did receive them. I believe that answers the forester's comment regarding screening to the neighbors. I took exception to the deck being high. The deck at the highest point is 4 feet off grade, and that's basically because the property slopes down from under it. And just as a comparison, I would be looking to have that deck, I would say 28 inches above grade just for proper ventilation underneath it to start. So I'm talking about a difference of 20 inches. I would have believed that I actually could have raised that patio in place, not changed my impervious coverage, my building coverage, and had a compliant rear yard setback. So in that regard, this thing is much closer than I think face value it appears. To that end, excuse me, the location of the deck is currently centered in the back of the house. It is basically constrained across the back of the house because to the left of it on our plan is the existing Bilco door for providing basement access to the house. To the right of it's the existing chimney, generator, and air conditioning condensing unit. So there is no way to move this deck anywhere beyond that. It gives us a space of approximately 12 foot wide, and it extends out to 14 feet for the 168 square feet. Comparing it to other decks, I would have said a small deck would be 16 by 13 for a table and 6 chairs. So this is not even to that scale. I think it's a better application for the house. I think it's a better application for the owners, and I think it's an improvement for that property, for the house in general. As it's configured now, the patio is the same size, but loses the first 4 feet for the platform and stairs to get out of the kitchen down to the patio, which by itself is just a lousy application. So I just think it's a better application. It's modest in scale, better for the house. I think better for the family, and I think it's a reasonable application or a suitable application for the project in mind.
Excellent.
So,
Thank you.
if there are any questions.
Marie, you get the first crack at it.
Okay, so when we're talking about the deck and the patio underneath, so he's right that your ordinance shows that a deck is included in your impervious coverage calculation. So even if they were to remove the patio underneath, it doesn't change the numbers for your impervious coverage. The deck still counts as impervious coverage, so your ordinance looks at it. And you can determine whether you think that that's a better idea to have, more water infiltrating underneath the deck with the patio removed, but it won't change the numbers that's on the application.
But you would expect a practical improvement to water infiltration?
Right.
To whatever degree that is for that space.
Right. And, I'm sure there's a reason why your ordinance considers decks as impervious. There's probably some practical reason for it. But, the water can seep down and get underneath the deck. I don't think it's going to be on there as much.
Okay.
So that's one thing. The other thought was, I think Krista had brought something up in her memo about the shed in the rear yard that's technically too close to the property line and needs a variance for the location of it, basically so you can get some maintenance around the other side of it without having to go onto a neighbor's property. So you either need to look at it as a variance, or she was suggesting that it be moved to meet the side and rear yard setbacks.
So maybe pause there for a second. Are we seeking a variance for the shed, or are we prepared to move it to a conforming location?
Well, the shed was there when we bought the house 2 years ago. So I don't mind moving it, but it's kind of,
How far? I mean, it's a tiny shed.
it's a little shed. It's
4 feet as a side and rear yard setback is the requirement.
Over.
Yes.
It would come forward 4 feet and probably 2 feet to the left. In considering it, it does increase the disturbance. It's frankly probably the only shed that would then be 4 feet and 4 feet, as the others are all built right to their fences. The garage behind is not 4 feet off the rear property line, but it is clear to their side property lines.
I don't have an answer. I
Yeah.
suppose we could.
The board may look favorably upon reducing the number of variances being granted.
What I would do in this case would probably just get rid of the shed altogether and just
I
have
think
it.
so too.
She doesn't like it because it's ugly. I like it because it's like my only man area.
Yeah, you're man. Okay, so I think we're hearing that we're not seeking a variance for it. We would either move it to a conforming location or potentially remove it. I'll let you two decide that at home. Okay.
Yes, thank you.
Anything else, Marie,
No,
that you
that's
want to draw attention to? Okay. And then maybe just back to the pavers so we're clear. I think remove the pavers. You're not going to use them, obviously. They're sitting under your deck. Yes? Remove the pavers? You guys okay removing the pavers?
Put what in place, though? How
Well, it's underneath the deck, right?
Actually, I would treat it with a weed mat and stone mulch.
Okay.
So
Okay.
it gives it allows the water to drain, but helps control weed growth.
Okay.
Are you actually removing the deck altogether that's existing there and then rebuilding?
No. Now, the deck, basically, the deck platform, 12 feet by 14 feet, was built in error. We're now basically here trying to get permission to work with that and to finish it, meaning put the railings and the stair on it.
I'm just wondering how hard it would be to remove pavers underneath an existing.
There's.
They're not concreted in or anything?
Oh, no.
Okay.
No, this basically, it's just loose concrete pavers. It's a modular system. Comes out easily, and now I'd say the reverse argument, it's not a high deck, but there is enough room to get those pavers out from under there pretty easily.
And there's some arguably benefit for water
Yes,
infiltration.
I agree. If you can get them out of there fairly easily,
Yeah.
Yes.
that would be good.
Someone, I hope not the applicant, will have to be climbing under the deck to do that, but
Their
my
daughter-
apologies to
their
them in
daughter could do
advance,
it.
right? Yeah, there you go, all right. Okay. So I think, Marie, you were good. Is there any objection to including as a condition of the application, the engineer's letter, just so we can capture all of her notes? Is that acceptable? Okay, wonderful. Okay, thank you, Marie. Any questions from the board for the architect? No? Okay. I'll ask again. Anyone here for 32 Edison in the audience? No? Okay, wonderful. Don, before you sit down, anything else you want to add, or you're good?
No, I think we're good.
Okay, wonderful. In conclusion then, anything either of you'd like to say?
I just want to say thank you for your time.
Wonderful.
Thank you.
Strong close, all right. The only condition, I believe, is the engineer's letter.
I've got a couple others.
Oh, go ahead, Andy, layer it in.
So first is compliance with those conditions noted in the board engineer's memorandum. Second is that the existing shed in the rear yard shall be either moved to a conforming location or shall be removed. And the third is that the applicants will remove the existing pavers under the deck.
And perhaps we can just modify that, because some of the things that hold the deck up, the uprights, are sitting on pavers. They don't take those pavers away.
They're actually on concrete pier footings.
Okay.
Those pavers are already removed, the concrete is.
Okay,
So
okay.
that's already taken care of.
Okay.
Very thorough, Claire.
misremembered.
This is a very thorough examination.
I went tromping through the poor woman's
I
backyard.
see that. You could have pulled some pavers out while you were under there, right? Yeah. Okay, wonderful. All right, who would like to begin then the deliberations? Don't
Oh,
you?
let Claire go. She's spent 2 hours.
Well, Claire already helped us out here. How about Diana? Let's try Diana.
I think that it is unfortunate that they have found themselves in the situation that they have, but they have shown themselves to be very ready to make, very reasonable and, forthright, to subject themselves to very reasonable, what do we call them?
Conditions.
Conditions
Conditions,
to get this deck built. And I think that the variances are reasonable considering the size of the property and the size of the deck that they're going to get. So I would support it.
Okay. Anyone care to add to Diana?
I
No?
would agree. It'd make your backyard more usable, because I went back there today, and with all the rain, it's not a very pleasant environment for your daughter. So I would definitely, and it's a modest deck. It's not a huge thing for the space that you have. So I'd be prone to approve this application as well.
Cool. I too could approve the application. A couple of things jumped out to me. While modest, there should be improvement for water infiltration, so a certain stormwater management benefit. Obviously, the safer use of the space that is available for your daughter or whomever is using the space is a clear benefit to you and future potential homeowners. Addressing the shed issue, sorry for the loss of your man cave, but is what it is. Give them some basement, give them a corner in the basement or something.
You can move it.
To get a new shed, how about that? Right?
Right, you can
Anyways,
move
I'm
it.
sorry, I'm spending your money. It's not fair. And then I think secondarily is there was reference to the inclusion of additional privacy screening at a later point, if that's appropriate.
And on that note, I
yeah.
did just want to ask, do we want to impose that as a condition as well?
I don't know if it needs to be a condition.
It's a
because-
6-foot stockade fence.
Right.
I mean, they're pretty screened.
Okay.
Yeah. I think the acknowledgement that if that is necessary with the input of neighbors, when the project is complete, that being captured in the resolution as your testimony, is just another kind of attempt, and Dana, you said put it well, is to kind of look forward and address any particular issues that may arise at a later date. So for all those reasons, I can support the application with the condition as noted and would ask for a motion to approve. David and Liz, cool.
Vice Chairman Steiner,
Yes.
Ms. Newell,
Yes.
Mr. Gonzalez,
Yes.
Mr. Mullen,
Yes.
Mr. Malay,
Yes.
Mr. Loikett,
Yes.
Chairman Spur.
Yes.
The motion carries.
Okay, thank you very much. Good luck
Thank
with your
you.
project. Thank you.
Before we move on,
Yeah.
Mr. Chairman, I think this project is the poster child for something I had raised earlier about individual homeowners in the R5 and the R6 zone maybe getting a reduction in fees to the city to compensate for the number of certified letters they have to send out. I'd spoken to Mr. Snickus about this the last time, and he says that many other neighboring communities have different costs with community services. He says typically based on the complexity of the project.
Sounds like
But
a
that's another
wonderful
way to get
annual
in.
report item. for
Yes, yes,
The first quarter of
absolutely
next year.
annual report item.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Yeah, great, good observation. Thank you, thank you, thank you. All right, we move next to 45 Templar Way.
The R5 and the R6 also have a lot more lots around them than
That's it.
R25.
Right,
Absolutely. And more modest projects.
that's
Yes,
true. There's less you can
and
do.
therefore more variances.
Before we swear the applicant in, Tom, you have something for me here? You have anything?
Don't push it.
Don't put it.
Do you want to hear? Anybody who doesn't know me?
We're gonna start with Dan here, and then we'll move to you.
We can spend an hour on you, Tom. Please don't.
If you could raise your right hand, do you swear from the testimony you're about to give in this matter is the truth, the whole truth, nothing but the truth?
I do.
Please state your name, spell your last name.
Daniel J. Terrell, Tyrrell.
Thank you.
All right, Mr. Terrell, tell us a little bit about your application.
Sure, well, first of all, I just want to thank Mr. Chairman, Mr. Vice Chairman, the board, and its staff for taking the time to consider the application in the first place. My wife and I moved to our home at 45 Templar Way about 5 years ago. We love being part of the Summit community, being part of our neighborhood over there on Templar Way. We've really gotten to know our neighbors well, including some of the new ones that just recently moved in, and we've really appreciated being part of the neighborhood. Since we moved in 5 years ago, we've been blessed to welcome 2 new additions to our family. The first, my daughter Riley, 2.5 years ago, and just about 3 months ago, my son Brady, who's really the impetus for this application. We're seeking to put a bedroom up on the 2nd floor so that he's able to have a room of his own. And as much as we've enjoyed having him in our room for the past 3 months and an additional 3 months after, I'm sure he'd probably appreciate having his own room after that. So that's essentially what we're looking to do by way of this application, and I thank you again.
Okay, great. Any questions for the applicant from the board? Are there any members of the interested public for this application here? I don't think so, unless you're hiding behind Tom's easel, no? All right, wonderful. And we'll swear in Mr. Conway.
Do you swear from the testimony you're about to give in this matter is the truth, the whole truth, nothing but the truth?
I do.
And can you please state your name, spell your last name?
Thomas Conway, Conway.
Thank you, and I'll note you've appeared before us before. Any changes to your credentials since the last time?
Nope,
I imagine the board will
still in
accept
good
you again.
standing.
Yeah, usually it's Mr. Kelly or right, Mr. Rosen, but it's nice to have you, Mr. Conway. We'll accept your credentials this evening.
Thank you. So this is going to be short, I think, and that's my goal. But anyway, this project is really about purely FAR. We aren't really changing the volumetric of the house. We're focusing the work in between two existing volumes that are there. And the FAR, or the FAR currently is at 24.9%, and we're proposing 25.9%, which is a total of 157 additional square feet, which is basically the size of the bedroom. The proposal is within R15. We aren't changing the side yard setbacks, the front yard setbacks. It isn't really that visible from the front of the house. This is just showing the front, side. This is the side where we're putting the addition. The work we're doing is just in this little piece right there where we're connecting these two. So the existing second floor, when we first started the project, how long ago did we do original? 17, okay, 2017, we designed this bedroom and connection, redid some of the bathrooms, closets, et cetera, so they could move in. And then, obviously, they've been busy moving their lives along, and they are using not only the second floor spaces for bedrooms, but they're also using, is it 2 offices currently, or?
Yeah, so my wife and I are both attorneys, and we both have a hybrid work schedule, so I use one of the rooms as my office, and another room which doubles as my wife's office where she works when she's working from home, is also a guest room for when family and friends come as well.
So you'll see the addition is just between this existing volume here, this existing here, and we just modified the closet here to move that in and created a new closet for the bedroom. And on the side elevation, there's the front, you'll see the roof changes. It's actually the same skyline as the current roof, and it just gets tucked into this similar volume that we already have on them, because we're lining the roofs with a low pitch roof in the back. And you'll see on the side, this was the addition that was put on for that bedroom. And then we're just extending that piece over to engage into this roof here. So it's still the same dimension, it just actually extends over. I actually think the side elevation is better because it isn't just kind of this floating element. It integrates into the volume of the house. And I think it's in keeping with the neighborhood, and it's not really visible from the street, and it doesn't negatively impact the master plan.
Keep going.
I'm just kind of, I can go on and on. I'm not going to, but you've heard those things over and over again from me.
Thank you, Mr. Conley. Marie, you didn't spend much ink on this one either,
No,
but
it's
anything
not.
you want to call out?
There's no engineering impact on this at all. It's
Okay.
strictly a zoning.
And then whether for you, Mr. Conway, or for Mr. Terrell, in terms of cleaning up some things, because the FER request is relatively de minimis, this generator location, I don't know if you have anything you'd like to expand upon about how you got that approved in if I'm reading it correctly, a non-conforming location.
Yeah, what I know is that we applied for and received the permit in
permits
order to put a generator in. I believe it was in 2021. I don't know with respect to the location where it was installed, but I know that we did receive a permit in order to put that in.
Would you object to the inclusion of screening? I don't necessarily want to ask you to move the generator. That's a Herculean task, but would you object to, as part of this application, screening that generator in?
No, I don't think so. I think that's
Okay.
something that we would definitely consider.
And then we're picking on sheds this evening, unfortunately. Tell us a little bit about your shed in the rear yard.
There actually isn't a shed.
Oh,
back there.
even better. Look at
Yeah,
that.
it's not.
Yeah, we don't have a shed. in
I
the
don't know where-
backyard.
they
Okay.
came up with that shed, must have been another
You're
property.
not allowed to have one there anyway, so
Yeah,
good,
exactly.
good answer. That's good. Okay, great. Well, we addressed those two items then. Any questions for Mr. Conway from the board? No? Well, that gets your wish, Tom. And I didn't see anybody sneak in here from the interested public. Andy, anything else we need to address that you see?
Nope.
Okay. Great.
I guess actually on that point, so I imagine with the screening of the generator, the board would like to grant the variance for the location of the generator where it exists, correct?
That's fair. Yes, I think that's what we're talking about. To your knowledge, there's been no negative impact for that location, undue sound or whatever, that may negatively impact your neighbors?
Not to my knowledge.
Okay. Okay, excellent. Yes, let's do that.
Conditions on exercise in terms of the hours.
I think that's
That's
in
in the
ordinance
code.
now. Yeah.
Yep.
Yep. Okay. Wonderful. Anything you'd like to say in conclusion then?
No, just again, thank you to the board and staff for your time considering the application. My family appreciates it, so thank you.
Great. Thank you. All right, who'd like to begin the deliberations then? No? Anybody? Wally, how about you?
You were ready to.
Oh, somebody was jumping at
No,
it?
no, no.
I'll take volunteers first, always.
The eyeballs were going up.
Wally,
All right, Wally, you sprung to action. Go for it.
Relatively straightforward application, obviously. Thank you for addressing all the key points. There's no detriment to any neighboring properties. If there was a non-conforming issue with the generator, you've been more than happy to mitigate that. The variance itself is de minimis, as was said before. It's a benefit to your family and to the property without negatively impacting any of the surrounding homes or the architecture within your neighborhood. So this is low-hanging fruit. I would approve this, and I would support this application.
Diana, did you have anything?
I have
Sorry.
nothing
No?
to add to that, as perfectly said.
Okay, wonderful. Good job, Wally.
well, then I can't.
Oh, we'll
Just-
go for it, Claire. We all came out tonight for
I
something.
mean, I think it's well thought out, tucked in there. The roof line, it took me a while to figure out the roof line, but it works. Very well screened from your neighbor to the right, so they won't even notice it once you finish the job. So certainly, I recommend the board approve this.
Excellent. Cool. The only thing I would add to this is I appreciate your accommodation with regard to the generator. We like to clean things up when we can here, even if it's not directly related to the variance that you're seeking, which is, I think, definitionally de minimis. The fact that you're just under 25% now and just barely creeping up to 26% would suggest that you have sought out architectural assistance that minimizes its potential impact on the neighboring properties, and I would have to agree that visually it certainly will minimize any potential negative impact to either the property itself or neighboring properties. So with that, and I believe the only condition we have noted is the screening that you had agreed to with regard to the existing generator. We have a motion to approve the application.
So moved.
Thank you. Second?
Second.
Scott?
Vice Chairman Steiner,
Yes.
Ms. Newell,
Yes.
Mr. Gonzalez,
Yes?
Mr. Malay,
Yes.
Mr. Mullen,
Yes.
Mr. Loikis.
Yes.
Chairman Spur.
Yes.
The motion carries.
Thank you. And I'll note for the record, though, I don't think, Tom, you said anything, that Tom did rejoin the dais for that application. Tom Yuko, and was present for the deliberations. All right, thank you. Good luck.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. All right, Sam, it's 8:30 and we've got 3 applications down. Let's keep it
Amazing.
rolling, all right?
And one
Let's
push.
keep it going.
And one, yes, and one carried. So we'll call that 4? I don't know. That's just weird. The end of year energy here.
An empty gallery.
Yeah.
Well, in that vein, I will keep my intro much shorter than I had expected.
Thank you.
Thank you. This home was built in 1907, if I can step back, in 99 Woodland Avenue. If you can see the picture that I'm showing on the screens, and you may know, this home is built on top of the hill at the corner of Bellevue and Woodland. It's really screened. This photo is from yesterday. So you can tell the leaves are gone. We'll have some photos later if you'd like to see with the leaves. That obviously provides much more screening. But there are many trees. This is the view going up the driveway. And I just want to show, this is the little proposed exposed parking area where you see the red Jeep. The next photo is closer up. And this is where they're proposing to pave and put those two exposed parking spaces. The variants are really caused by the topography. They are and the nature of the lot is a corner lot. They are proposing a pool and patio in the technical front yard of Bellevue, although it is 70 feet from Bellevue. They also need a variance for the number of exposed parking spaces. We're allowed to have any number of garage spaces. You are only allowed to have a maximum of 2 times the required garage spaces in exposed parking. And here we have, per Krista's calculations, we have technically 8, but really about 6 usable spaces. And they really have currently 6 spaces as well. I will show you. I'm pulling up the existing plan. And I'm just gonna mark in green the existing exposed parking that we're talking about. Krista counting. And then there are 4 garage bays existing. So that's where we're getting that 6 number from. Now we're proposing to move those spaces that I'm showing in the green circle to, now I'm showing the proposed plan, this corner here. And that's at 5.1. One of the corners is 5.1 feet from the property line, and the other is 8. It's a little over 8 feet. Okay. And then the third variance required is for the location of the current parking spaces in the left rear corner of the lot, not within the buildable area. We have eliminated the noted variance in Krista's report for 11 feet fence. The landscape architect that we have here tonight, Jeff Higginbotham, he will speak more to how he accomplished that and still allowed for the necessary buffer and screening of that spa area. The applicants really wanted to have the spa buffer, not just for their neighbors, but also for them, so they don't have to look at their own driveway. We've also had a chance to speak with Krista, and she confirmed that no variance is required for the location of the parking area, quote, at the end of the run. That's number 4 in her original report. And that's this area we'll highlight in blue. Does the board have any questions of me before I ask our applicant?
Yeah, a couple questions. So I just want to clarify one thing. So you're saying Chris's memo that we got today, that eliminates what she's, her variance number 4. That's what she's referring to, her variance number 4?
Yes.
Okay. And what do you mean, I mean, her memo clearly says 8 spaces. You're saying, well, really 6 usable. We have to deal with her report. So why
Absolutely.
are you saying, what makes those 2 not usable in your opinion?
And I think our applicant and our engineer can speak more to that, but it's really about the maneuverability in front of those 4 garage bays. If you see where these garage bays are here, I'm put them in yellow here. And then there is a wall. Let's do orange. This is a wall. So I'll show you a picture now that will show you a little bit better how much room is really there. You can't put a car there and reach the garage at the same time. So either you use the garage spaces or you use that one car space here. Does that make sense?
Well, it makes sense,
But
but you,
technically
one of your
it's
witnesses,
two.
one of your witnesses can address it too?
Yes.
Okay. Because I'm still wondering, I mean, it's 8 parking spaces, you're saying 2 aren't usable, but Chris is still saying they're there, so I'm assuming in her mind they must be usable. That's why I'm questioning
It's a
it.
calculation of the space. It's not really a function of the functionality of the parking space. But I understand your question, and I think our professionals are prepared to answer that. Thank you.
I just want to make sure I understand what you're saying. Is this effectively tandem parking that Chris is interpreting it as?
Basically, right? Yes.
Okay, thank you.
And our engineer will speak to it further, but yes.
Okay. Any other questions from the board for the attorney? Okay. And I'll note there's no members of the interested public here this evening.
Thank you.
All right. So let's continue to, I guess, the applicant next.
Yes,
Excellent.
could.
We'll swear you in.
If you could raise your right hand. Do you swear or affirm the testimony you're about to give in this matter is the truth, the whole truth, nothing but the truth?
Yes.
Please state your name, spell your last name.
Andrew Hausman, Hausman.
Thank you.
Mr. Hausman, I know that you wanted to speak to the application, if you could.
Yeah, so, I think Sam's given you a pretty good summary. We didn't get to the kind of pool patio area yet, but just to introduce myself, Andrew Hausman. My wife Amy was unable to be here because we have a couple of pickups at the airport tonight of our kids.
How many kids did you have? Sorry to interrupt you already.
8 kids.
8.
Um,
And 2 grandkids?
I know the feeling.
And 2 grandkids, yeah. Hopefully they don't all have 8 kids or whatever. 64 grand. But yeah, we've lived in Summit a long time, bought the house a couple years ago. We've been working on the inside for about a year and a half and gotten to know the driveway and the parking situation very well, as you might imagine. And so now we're proposing to start work on the outside of the house. And really, the condition here is just that we're way up on a hill, and if you had the chance to come by, you'll know what I mean. It's kind of perched up with a relatively small flat area on each side of the house and a lot of forest all around it. And we're working very hard to not disturb the forest and continue to use the driveway that's there. And if you're wondering how they got this way, my theory is that when they built the house in 1907, they didn't have cars, so you walked up from the corner of Woodland and Bellevue to the front door. So anyway, this is all about trying to figure out how to best use that space and accomplish what we want to do without bothering any of our neighbors. So I did speak to all the adjacent neighbors about this. None of them had an issue with it. Candidly, they can't see it because of the elevation of the lot. So both the pool and the area surrounding the pool and the parking we're talking about are all sort of shielded, and we have pictures to show that if you didn't get a chance to stop by. But that, in summary, is what we're trying to do. I think Sam did a really good job of explaining the parking. We can get into the specifics on that and on the pool side. But from a practical matter, if you can't park up there, you have to park on Bellevue because you can't park on Woodland. It's a narrow and a very busy road. And the walk from Bellevue to Woodland and up the driveway and up to the front door is about 1,000 feet. So it's a little over 3 football fields after you get out of your car. So we're trying to figure out how we can have people park up there in a practical manner and also let the Amazon and the mailman turn around. For the last year and a half, we've had a temporary mailbox that I stuck in at the bottom of our driveway because the mail guy told me he couldn't get to the house and turn around when we had cars parked up there. So that's just sort of a little anecdote to illustrate the point. But I'll stop there.
I will tell you, I never drive up anyone's driveway, especially not my own, but I had to do yours because like, I'm not walking up your driveway.
Anything else you'd like to ask the applicant, Sam, or?
I'm just taking a look, make sure. I think we can have our landscape architect And perhaps the engineer come first and answer Mr. Yuko's question, and then we'll have our landscape architect.
Any other questions
Unless
for the
board has any
applicant?
questions.
No? Okay, great. Yep, let's move on to your next witness then.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Do you swear affirm the testimony you're about to give in this matter is the truth, the whole truth, nothing but the truth?
I do.
Please state your name, spell your last name.
Peter Korzen, spelled Korzen.
Thank you, and I know you've appeared before us a number of times. Any changes to your credentials since the last time you were here?
No, they're all current and in good standing.
Imagine the board would like to accept you again.
Imagine correctly. We will.
Thank you.
Welcome back, Mr. Squares.
I think Sam did a great job. I wish I could use this, but I'm just not.
I will help you. You let me know, and
That's
I'll.
okay, I'm gonna go old school.
Okay. Can you have the mic?
Yeah, we're gonna,
Just stand.
So, this would be the first plan, it's the existing conditions plan, sheet 204, last revised August 15th, 2023. You've heard a lot about the site already. The house is located in the center, more on the east side. This is the driveway, the long driveway that goes up. There's a lawn area at the northerly corner. There's 2 spaces right here. And those are essentially the only 2 spaces that are provided for visitors, because the only other area would be in front of the garage doors. And if cars are utilizing the garage bays, and there's 4 of them, there's no way that you can park cars there, even if you were going to parallel park cars, it still wouldn't work. And I'll explain more about the proposed parking in a minute. On the north side of the house, there's a wraparound porch, which leads to a covered entrance. That's the main entrance to the house, which faces Woodland Avenue. From those 2 parking spaces, there's a long flagstone walkway. That's about 150 feet, I believe, that leads to the front entrance of the house. And in back of the house, which is essentially the backyard on the south side, is a deck, flagstone patio, and a small lawn area. In addition, there's also a lawn area on the north side of the flagstone patio. At the southeast corner of the property is a fieldstone step, which is kind of hazardous, that leads down to Bellevue Avenue. This plan also shows the shaded area, which is the existing steep slopes. There's quite a lot of them, and that total area is 35,884 square feet. The lot itself is 1.9 acres. The next plan shows the proposed improvements. This is the lot grading plan, sheet 104, and this is also last revised August 15th, 2023. So you heard a lot about the parking on the north side of the house. This is the proposed 2-car area, which is asphalt at the northerly corner. That's currently a lawn area. There's also a proposed driveway extension, which would be through the 2 existing car spaces. And that leads down to a paver area, which would provide parking for 2 cars. The purpose of that is to replace those 2 spaces, but also move them closer to the main entrance of the house. So you don't have that 150-foot walk, although there is a walk modification from the entrance of the new garage or new driveway, but these cars parked down in this area have a very short walk to the front of the house. In back of the house, in the backyard, there is what's shown as a proposed deck and a proposed covered landing. However, they're currently built. That's the subject of another application that was approved, an architectural application. Other than that, beyond those in the back is a proposed patio, a small proposed pool, a spa, a fire pit. And because of the pool, there's also a pool code compliant fence that goes around that area, and it also includes a small section by the garage to prevent people from accessing the steps that lead down to the driveway.
Peter, can I interrupt you real quick? Because I think we're bringing that fence closer to Bellevue, correct?
Yeah, there's two changes that I'd like to just explain that
Thank you.
are not shown on this plan. One of them is the fence location at the southerly side of the pool. The plan is to actually move that closer to Bellevue Avenue so it matches up with the neighbor's fence right here. It's a 4-foot aluminum fence.
Thank you.
It's the same type of fence. It's 4-foot aluminum picket fence. It's located about 20 feet from the curb line of Bellevue Avenue. So the plan is to move that, shift that down so it matches up and aligns with that fence, and then comes back and connects with the fence up in this area by the patio. That's one change we'd like to make. The other one would be in back of the pool, and you'll hear more about this from the landscape architect. Right now, the proposed wall that's in back of the pool, which is only 2 feet high, is flush with the pool coping. What we'd like to do is directly in back of the pool is just raise that up slightly to gain a little bit more privacy, 2 feet, but the wall would still be 4 feet or under in that area. So that's the other change. I believe that's the only 2 changes that are not included on the plan.
Thank you.
As far as grading goes, there is some fill, some changes in the back and the south, in the backyard and the south side of the property, in the developed portion of the property. So to make that work, we do have that retaining wall. There's a couple other walls that are low height retaining walls in the area. Grades are, for the most part, match what's there. You can see that with the grading on the driveway and with the, excuse me, with the grading on the 2-car parking area. The big change to this is drainage. Currently, there's no stormwater management on site, and this plan proposes 2 dry wells. One is dry well number 1, which is located at the entrance to the driveway extension. And that picks up runoff from the cars that are, the area where the cars are parked, the paver area, and the driveway itself. The other is dry well number 2. That's located on the east side of the patio and back of the house. And that collects runoff from the patio, the deck, and all of the hardscape in that area. Both of those have been sized in accordance with city standards. The total amount of steep slope disturbance with these improvements is 992 square feet, which is under the threshold of 1,000 square feet that the city has. If you look in the upper right of the plan, you'll see a zoning data chart titled Relevant Zoning Data, R25 Zone District. You can see that there are 6 variances shown. However, one of those is no longer a variance, and that's the paver area for the cars at the end of that driveway run or extension. That's 106.9 feet back from Woodland Avenue. That's within the buildable or building envelope of the site, so no variance is required for that. There is still a variance required for the northerly corner, those 2 spaces, because Krista Anderson recently determined that that's not considered a passive structure. There is a requirement that the parking be within the building envelope, and at that location it's 17 feet back from the easterly and northerly property lines, and it's only 5.1 feet back. So there is a variance there, but there are plans for that to be screened with landscaping. The other 3 variances that you see listed are for accessory structure located in the front yard. You've heard a little bit about that before. That's the front yard of Bellevue Avenue. They're 70 feet back minimum, and that happens to be the pool, the fire pit, the patio, and the custom fence, which I believe has changed, but maybe not the location, but you'll hear more about that from the landscape architect. And then the final variance is for the number of parking spaces. So for this house, there's a required number of garage spaces of 2, and the code requires 200% of that. So there will be 4 spaces maximum exterior outside the garage. What we're proposing are, from a practical standpoint, 4. But from a theoretical standpoint, there are 4 areas in front of the garage doors that could be utilized. If somebody was going to park there, it would be double parking. If those cars were parked there, if they were parked parallel, it doesn't matter. You couldn't back out of the garage into that area. So, I mean, per code theoretically, it is 8 spaces that we're showing, but from a practical standpoint, it's really 4. I think that's all I have for my presentation. I'm ready to move
If I
on to
could.
the engineer's letter, unless you have some.
Yes, that's
Okay.
what I wanted to
Sure.
just, and there's one question from Krista, I'm not sure if this will be for you or Jeff about the light proposed, and there's no lighting proposed in the parking area, right?
There is no lighting proposed in the parking area on the north side. There are lights proposed. You'll hear more about that from the landscape architect. I believe there's 4 or 5 located on the driveway and the paver area. So this next memo is by Marie Raffe, dated November 22nd. And actually, going through this, I don't even know if there's anything that I need to address on this.
I don't think there is, but I just want to make sure. Peter, is that the same light that is proposed? That's an existing light along the driveway, and that's what is proposed?
Again, you'll hear more about that from the
Okay,
landscape architect.
thank you.
I'm not sure. Unless Marie has some comments, I believe everything's been addressed.
No, I think you have addressed everything. I was concerned about the dry wells, dry well 1 and dry well 2, but we've reviewed those calculations. We take no exception to the sizing of them. I think it sounds like we'll be hearing more about the lighting from the landscape architect. And I think that's really all I have.
Tom and Dave, I just want to make sure your earlier questions were addressed. You received the clarity that you were seeking?
Yeah, I mean, I get that it's still theoretical parking space, but cars could be parked there. I mean, that's still true.
Yeah, to that point, I mean, when the ordinance was created, this is an unusual property in town. Most properties are smaller driveway where they were probably contemplating folks parking in front of them. But I have another question, just somewhat unrelated. The parking area on the left side, that's currently gravel, the one in the corner.
Yes,
Okay, and that's converting to hardscape.
yes.
And where would the water course off of that? It's just going down the driveway like it currently does. And there is a series of drainage inlets alongside the driveway that get picked up, all of that gets picked up. And would those drainage inlets be sufficient to pick up the additional runoff created by the additional hardscape? I don't see a problem with it. It's an 8-inch PVC pipe. I haven't done any calculations, but you're looking at an
Technically.
area that's 20 by 20, so I don't think there's 400 any, square foot. yeah.
Gravel is considered impervious
Right. So
for the
impervious to
coverage
pervious.
variance.
Or,
Or,
sorry, from impervious
They're
to
both.
pervious.
I think they're both
Sorry, you're both-
considered, I'm sorry.
Long day.
For lot coverage, they're both, gravel is considered for lot coverage.
Most towns, if you're driving on it and it's stone, it's still considered impervious.
So it's already included in the lot coverage.
But from a practical drainage standpoint.
Where do you see an issue?
Since we're
Isn't it
using
the same?
practical to talk about the parking. Practical to drainage.
Sure.
Peter, could you just talk
Does-
about, you mentioned something about the water collection for that upper corner. You have an inlet in there, is that right?
Yes, that all gets, that gets conveyed to the 8-inch PVC pipe that runs down the center of the driveway. And that picks up runoff from the driveway and conveys it down to a storm sewer in Woodland Avenue.
Okay.
Yep.
All right, so you're installing a new catch basin up in that curved parking area up at the top.
Right, right. The
Yes.
low point would be at the northwest corner of that parking area. It's inlet CB2, it's labeled.
CB2, okay,
Yeah.
okay. Yes, yes, so I'm okay.
So that'll pick up the water, right?
Mhm.
Anything else you'd like to draw attention to, Marie? I mean, it's great that they seem to have addressed everything.
No, yeah, they have addressed everything.
Okay, excellent. And Sam, would you object to inclusion of the engineer's letters?
Of course.
Okay,
Thank you.
excellent, thank you. Okay,
I
Go
had
ahead.
a question about the new parking area closer to the door. And I will say, when I visited the property, I got to observe a passenger vehicle and a delivery vehicle trying to maneuver around each other. Yeah, I get why that doesn't work, but how are cars going to leave that parking area?
Yeah, well, we toyed around with the idea of providing a turnaround area, but it just, you end up eliminating a lot of trees that way. So, as you can see, with the flagstone walk that was redesigned to accommodate those trees, we went in between them, and we took a lot of time to minimize the impact there. So, cars will back out. They'll just back out.
To the main driveway, right?
Pardon?
They'll back out to the main driveway.
Yes, and then once they
be
hit
able
the
to
main
turn
driveway,
around.
they'll
Right, do the occasion.
easily exit, yeah. Other questions from the board? Mr. Gorzen? I'm just curious, were we close to steep slope disturbances? Any kind of threshold? Yeah.
Their
we were,
lawyer wanted-
It's 992 square foot proposed, and it's 1,000 for the,
Their lawyer said, let's ask, and the applicant really wants to minimize disturbance and like Peter has said, he really wants to keep the trees and wants to maintain the property as best he can. So he is sure that he's gonna keep it under 1,000 square feet and understands that we will be back before you if we disturb any more.
992, that's pretty impressive. All right, cool. Let's move maybe to the next witness then.
Sure, thank you.
Can I just ask really quickly,
please.
what is the width on that pad at the end of the line?
I'm sorry, what was that?
The width of the parking pad at the end of the line?
The width of it, let's see. 26 feet roughly.
Also, could you guess what the travel distance is from the far proposed parking area to, say, the front porch?
— 200 feet.
Is the flagstone stairwell, I visited the site today, the stairwell from Bellevue Ave up the side of the property, is that lit?
I don't believe so.
No.
It's in,
For practical purposes? I
It's
mean,
not- it wouldn't be
Do people
used.
actually use it, or no?
Sometimes
I mean,
when we
it
walk the
looks like
dog,
it's
on a
dangerous.
sunny day, you can go down there, but yeah, you don't go up there.
Slippery in the winter or when it's wet?
You never use it in the dark.
Okay. Thank you.
So here's some landscape architecture then.
Thank you. We have Jack Higginbotham of the Todd Group sworn in to give testimony, please.
If you could raise your right hand, do you swear affirm the testimony you're about to give in this matter is the truth, the whole truth, nothing but the truth?
I do.
Please state your name, spell your last name.
Jeff Higginbotham, Higginbotham.
Thank you, and can you briefly describe your background and experience for the board?
Yes. I have a Master of Landscape Architecture degree from Cornell University. I'm a licensed landscape architect in the state of New Jersey for over 20 years. And I've been practicing in this area for all of that time. I have been many years ago in front of Summit, as well as Milburn, Chatham, and New Providence.
Any questions, or would you like to accept his credentials?
We'll accept your credentials, including that Mr. Linson characterized your landscaping plan as fine, which is high praise. So,
Yeah.
that's right.
I'll mount that on the wall. Yeah.
You can expand upon that if you'd like.
Yeah. Okay, so I'll be speaking, particularly about the pool and the addition, and the way we went about it, understanding that this is obviously a beautiful property, and we want to be as respectful as possible, to the existing conditions, the steep slopes, the wooded areas, and just overall the natural feel and appeal of the property. So we did go with, I would say a medium to small pool in today's standard 16 by 32 to get that fitting within, you know, at least double the required front yard setback. I know it's not a standard, but we were trying to just achieve as high a threshold as we could. Allow it to, you know, fit in, keeping our steep slope disturbance to as, you know, as close to the limit as we could. But also understanding that any intrusion into the steep slopes while requiring additional variances would also require additional removal of trees and disturbance of area that you know, Andrew really wants to maintain and preserve. So, you know, understanding that if, you know, I'm sure most of you have visited the site, there really are not many other suitable locations for a pool than you know, where we're proposing. And we have the, you know, added benefit of being more than 20 feet of elevation change from the road, and really not visible to other adjacent neighbors directly.
Jeff, can you, not to interrupt you again,
Yeah.
but I think I appreciate that. If you could speak a little more to the addition to the wall. I know we talked about 2 changes to the plans. I just want to make sure we.
Yeah. So this back wall of the pool, as seen in your plans, the existing grade is 380, and the pool coping elevation is 382. So essentially, the back side of the pool is just sticking out of the ground 24 inches. We want to elevate that another 24 inches above, so that when you're in the pool, you wouldn't be just like standing at the coping looking directly out at the street. You'd have a small decorative wall portion with maybe, you know, a water jet fountain coming out to, you know, to just provide a nice backdrop and add to
Even more
the,
screening.
little bit of the privacy there. And the balance of the area around the pool, we're providing evergreen trees and shrubs to kind of create the enclosure in terms of screening.
And
from
then you
the public.
eliminated the 11-foot fence.
Yes, so the note about the 11-foot fence, that was in this area, which would be acting as a separator really only for the homeowner, so that their view wasn't down to the service area. And the 11-foot would not necessarily, we're choosing to eliminate that, but it was intended as an arbor structure above a fence. So it would not have been a solid wall. It was more of a decorative feature that would have matched the existing arbor structure over the deck. But
You were creative and you found another way to do it without needing a variance.
well, we can conform to the 7-foot max and just have a solid fence with a lattice top and remain conforming.
You speak to the pool equipment screening?
Yes, I saw the note that it has to be screened with solid screening. I was under the impression that plant material screening was sufficient, but that's fine. We will continue the solid fence screening around the entire, all 4 sides of the pool equipment.
Solid wood, right?
Is that
Solid.
necessary, honestly, like, just given the sight lines and all that stuff, it seems like just having it screened.
Oh, thank you.
I mean, is there any, I would just, again, back to the subject of practicality though, is there any safety benefit or anything else that we're missing, aesthetics aside? Because for sure, this is tucked back on the property, this is accessible only really to the property owners and the users. Any other reason why you would want to?
I would prefer to leave one side open for access for maintenance,
Okay.
rather than having an operable gate to enter and exit the area.
Okay. Do you, Andy, know if that's it's kind of tucked into the memo here. It's a variance, I suppose, any deviation from that requirement?
Technically, it would be, yes.
Is anything in the pool storage area flammable or dangerous that would spread if, or anybody could get to that would be dangerous? Is there a safety issue?
No, it's solely for the equipment itself, not for storage of,
Okay, no chemicals being stored
correct.
there or anything like that?
No, that would just be storage.
So it's your testimony then that the pool equipment area would be screened on 3 sides, with one side left open for access for maintenance, really, more than anything?
If the board is acceptable to that,
So that's what we're
finds
seeking.
that acceptable.
And the fourth side would have plant material screening.
Would have that material screen. Sound
Okay.
okay?
Well, I
All right.
thought we were talking about having plant materials, not a.
Does the code say that it has to be solid fencing?
Yes. That's
Solid.
I thought it
why
just had to
technically a
be
variance is required from that one.
screened.
But
by-
if we're allowing it on one side, we can't do 2 or 3?
We could.
Because I think that's what I was hearing from the group.
Right, that makes sense. Why would we do,
Well, for.
very well?
That's kind of what I was.
What do you
Waiting
guys,
for you to
what do
get
you
to.
want to do?
Yeah, he may
Let's
want
ask you,
it, can I?
Open car, not really, but you're the boss on this one.
We did hear something about maybe grandchildren in the future, some potential grandchildren. Is there
64
any-
grandchildren, to be clear.
64 grandchildren, correct.
Potentially.
But two current, is there a safety concern even at such a well-screened area, that we might wanna have 3 sides be covered, 1 be just natural cover, as opposed to the 4, which is maybe not aesthetically pleasing to the homeowner?
I don't think either of us are pool experts, but I have a pool and no. It's really a closed system. You would have to be very tall and have a lot of weight in you to be able to move anything that will do anything. But that's just my own experience.
So Andy, what's the way to write this variance essentially that allows for their flexibility? We don't need to solve this problem, to be frank with you.
Yeah, just a variance from the strict requirements of a hard fence screening around the pool equipment area.
And we
If there's
trust-
any safety or other reason, we
Has
can
to be
come
screened
get
with
approval from
hard fence
Marie
or a combination of fencing and or plantings.
That sounds good.
It could be. I mean, as long as you, Sam, I think I heard you say it, right, acknowledge that whatever solution you do find is going to meet whatever necessary safety criteria.
Right.
Engineer, landscape architect, whoever else wants to weigh into it, potentially building code officials could weigh into it, and ultimately supersede the decision of the board, frankly. But the spirit is you'll maintain a safe condition, and the aesthetics, that's for you and your family to enjoy.
Right.
Okay.
They clearly, want their privacy and are happy to provide buffering and screening. I think they're gonna end up wanting, that screened, so,
Okay. Andy's got a lot of good ideas then how to phrase that in the resolution, so.
thank
Good
you.
luck, Andy. Okay.
Great.
Should I can speak about the lighting.
Oh,
Can
yes.
you bring that
If
photo?
we could quickly go through. Sorry, hold on. It was just on, okay. There it is.
So this photo just illustrates the existing light fixtures that are running up the driveway. So there would be proposed additional to match for driveway access. And then at the very, it's not shown on my plan, but at the very top where the newly proposed parking area to access the front door, it's noted to have 2 columns with light fixtures. They would be, so at that, just to the right of the blue circle, right, there are 2 columns, and they would be masonry columns with a larger version of that same light fixture, that same arts and crafts style light fixture mounted on top of the masonry columns, which match other light fixtures that exist currently on the property.
And there's no spillage and that's,
No.
okay.
Right, they're not uplighting, they're just,
They're consistent with the 2 at the front of the driveway as well, right?
yes.
On Woodland, these 2 guys, yeah.
for variance there, so it's really more of anything aesthetic and frankly for the safe utilization of this now.
Navigating the driveway and arriving for guests.
But as Claire suggested, no spillage,
Yeah.
nothing shining into neighboring properties, living room windows. Okay. Anything else?
Could I go back to the
Yep.
pool screening and just
Yeah.
practically?
Yeah.
If I'm standing, if I'm the neighbor on Bellevue, across the street, looking up, what am I seeing particularly once the tree cover is gone? I mean, thank you for not putting up a white vinyl fence.
Right, so, just turn the folder for you. So, the larger dark green circles represent evergreen trees. There would be oriental spruce, so they'll keep a nice form and keep their full green in the winter, as well as rhododendron shrubs, other evergreen shrubs around the perimeter. When you're looking up, there's you'll see a portion of the back wall of the pool, and that will have a stucco finish that will match the facade of the house.
Okay.
And these flowering redbud trees will also, add to that buffer. So even though we have a woody condition here, these, more shade tolerant ornamental trees will provide like a step down buffer for that as well. So I would anticipate that the canopy of these ornamental trees will be just about the height of that exposed wall, and it will be, kind of a continuous screen.
Okay.
Is there any sound equipment planned for the pool area? I didn't see a tiki bar or something fun like that, but I mean,
No.
speaker stereo system, I don't know, right?
Good idea.
No.
We didn't get to that yet, but
Okay.
I don't think we're gonna have a
If you do, something modest, something that will contain that sound on the property.
I'm not sure I can get that past my wife.
It's step at a time. A
No
variance at a time.
speaker rocks.
Okay. Cool, okay. Anything else, Sam, or like to draw attention to?
No, thank you.
Marie, anything for you, kind of for landscape architect?
No.
No? Okay. One more time for the board, for the landscape architect? No? Okay, wonderful.
That will conclude our presentation. Thank you.
Excellent. Thank you very much.
Shortest summary ever.
Yeah, no, it's smart. I highly recommend that approach. Andy, what conditions do you have noted for this application?
Just our usual one, compliance with the conditions noted in the board engineer's memorandum.
Okay. Final application of the evening. Who would like to begin the deliberations? Hyman?
I was looking at the variances we have, and the first one is the side pool, but we can understand, or this is a corner lot, and that is understandable, and so I can support this variance. The second one is the parking. I think with the slopes we have, you need more parking up here. And I do agree with this variance as well. And also I have noticed that the slope, the driveway slope is better than before, so this is an advantage as well. So the 11-foot is no longer an issue.
That's right.
So I'm fine with the whole thing.
Excellent. Thank you. Thank you, Hyman. Anyone care to expand upon Mr. Millay? Scott or David? I see a couple of hands going up.
So my kids years ago referred to this house as the winter house, because you can actually only see it in winter. That speaks to the adequacy of the screening around the property. When I first looked at this application, I thought the parking was a little bit much. But as I think about the site plan, I live on Woodland, and that stretch of Woodland is especially narrow, and parking a vehicle on the street right there, unless you have a high degree of confidence in your insurance company, is not something I would recommend. So I do think there is a public safety benefit by providing for the parking. What's unusual about the property is that despite all of the paving going on around the property, we don't see any lot coverage variances. And I think that's there's probably like 3 lots on Summit that could accommodate this level of parking. This happens to be one of them. So I don't think that permitting this amount of parking in any way thwarts the purpose of the ordinance. And so I'm okay with it, given that it actually renders some benefits. So I don't really see any negative, any negative aspects of this application, so I can support it.
Cool. Scott, do you want to add anything?
Sure. I think this brings up a great issue that we could address in the annual report. The chairman would like that, because this property is being unnecessarily penalized for code that was written for a much smaller lot or house, what have you. So that's something I think we could address. They're being penalized unnecessarily. It's very clear that this lot can handle a lot more parking. And I can totally see this argument that walking 3 football fields to just get close to the house is a lot to ask anyone parking on the street. So, and then the pool is a no-brainer in terms of being in the front yard. I think that's been well addressed. So with that, I can approve this application.
So I too live on Woodland Avenue, and my children are curious, if you walk all the way up the driveway on Halloween, do you get a full-size candy bar or not? Damn well should,
That's a
yeah,
good
right?
question.
You and the one other kid that did it.
That's exactly right.
And the answer is.
And can I also say
Yeah,
that I really have a lot of appreciation for the fact that the homeowner is working very hard, clearly working very hard at kind of burying a lot of this parking and disturbance deep on the inside of the property and not disturbing, minimizing disturbance to the steep slopes and to the existing trees on the site, and being very kind of environmentally sensitive to the site. So I think that should be noted.
Yep. I think for really all those reasons, that I certainly can support the application. As Dana suggested, a balance has been struck here between kind of preserving the unique environmental characteristics of the property. It's very well screened, very mature right now, and in doing so, minimizing definitionally the steep slope disturbance by 8 square feet. I'm sure someone will be out there counting that, and I wish you well. But appreciate the inclusion of stormwater management, the additional, the 2 dry wells. It's surprising actually to hear that there's no stormwater management on the site right now. It all just kind of flows downhill and further downhill towards your house, probably all the way down Woodland. I imagine. Right? But it being a corner lot, it having definitionally unique topography. The lot size actually is also unique again relative to lots in the area. But what really sticks out here for this application, and what Mr. Corzine, the landscape architect, what everyone that's contributed to this, is practicality. Krista, I think, had fun probably running her parking calculations, but at the end of the day, I think the board's looked at this appropriately and recognized the practical needs of the applicant and future homeowners, and that all really brings us together as a very reasonable request. So with that, and the one condition is noted, we have a motion to approve the application.
So moved.
Second.
Vice Chairman Steiner,
Yes.
Ms. Newell,
Yes.
Mr. Gonzalez,
Yes.
Mr. Mullen,
Yes.
Mr. Malay,
Yes.
Mr. Loiketz,
Yes.
Chairman Spur.
Yes.
The motion carries.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Good luck.
Thank you all.
Thank you, everybody.
Have a great holiday and Happy New Year.
Happy New Year.
Can you get 5 minutes?
Yeah, sure. We'll take 5 minutes.
Take 5, okay.
Take 5. from our 5-minute recess here. Couple of administrative matters before we break into executive session. The resolution for memorialization was pulled, and that should come back to us January 4th. Is there anything, Stephanie, you want to just summarize?
For the resolution?
For the resolution, or
I
that
can
you were
address
the
that.
troublemaker?
Yes, I received a call from the applicant's architect that they were just re-reviewing the dry well capacity for it, and there was a portion of the resolution that addressed the commentary about the dry well. They want to ensure that it's sufficient for the site and that they don't need to add to it. So they did ask that we just pull the resolution so they could have that opportunity to address it further with the city engineer. So we'll hope that everything looks good, but if it does need some change or to be addressed, we'll deal with that as they come to us.
So there's no action we need to take today, otherwise, just a note, come January 4th, that'll be back before us, and it would probably be prudent just to share a summary then of any material changes that were made to the resolution. Okay. Next, we have Andy's Christmas present here. You would have seen an amendment, a proposed amendment to professional services agreement. So Andy's been working so hard that he exceeded what we had originally anticipated in the professional services agreement, that being $35,000. And in order for us to pay him out again for all the hard work clicking and clacking away and spending his time here with us, we actually need to amend the professional services agreement to allow that do not exceed threshold to reach $45,000. I don't know if you're going to spend all that at the end of the day. The bills will prove out.
I don't know either.
Okay, excellent. So it's really just more a technical matter, as much of the actual expenditure is flowing from applicants through the city to our professional in this case. So, does anyone have any questions about that?
I mean, we've had so many extra meetings. We know we spent more time.
Yeah, the only thing maybe of note here is this is our second or third year this has happened, and just for the purpose of a future RFP, we may want to increase the do not exceed. This isn't a tremendously heavy lift for us administratively to kind of keep a very close eye on Andy and his hours, but it may save us, a couple of minutes in the future. So, with that, I would ask for a motion to approve this amendment to the professional services agreement for our zoning board attorney.
So moved.
Second. Need a roll call, I presume?
Yes.
For spending money? All right.
Chairman Spur,
Yes.
Vice Chairman Steiner,
Yes.
Ms. Newell,
Yes.
Mr. Gonzalez,
Yes.
Mr. Mullen,
Yes.
Mr. Malay,
Yes.
Mr. Loikett,
Yes.
Ms. Toth,
Yes?
Ms. Sager,
Yes.
Mr. Yuko.
Yes.
The motion carries.
Okay. Thank you. Congratulations, Andy. Well done. Keep up the good work. Sprint to the finish, we should say, rather. Next is minutes for approval. We do have minutes, December 4th. So I think we need a motion and a second.
So moved.
Thank you.
Second?
Thank you. This is voice.
Yes.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Wonderful. Next item is calendar discussion. So Stephanie and I have been closely scrutinizing the calendar we approved for next year, and actually found an issue with June 17th that we had originally proposed in seeking to avoid a couple of things: conflict with June 19th, which is the Juneteenth federal holiday, June 18th, which is the high school graduation, and now unfortunately we're back to, the 17th, which is the high school graduation.
17th is
Middle school.
18th is high school.
18th is high school.
But 17th is also a council meeting.
Right. And we couldn't go upstairs because the environmental commission is already booked there for, I think, 6 hours, something crazy that day. Yeah. So anyways, there's a relatively minor adjustment, just kind of a quirky few days in the calendar. So we just need to approve this updated calendar, and to the greatest extent we can be sensitive to particular applications being scheduled that day so as not to raise the ire of applicants with high school age children. I know Stephanie will seek to do that. But I think if there's any other questions, we would entertain them. Otherwise, we'll just vote to approve this amended calendar.
So the meeting is June 18th. That's,
The meeting will be June 18th.
Yes.
So
Yes.
the only reason I asked, because I already had it in my calendar as June
That's
18th.
what I had.
Yeah.
It was bandied back and forth because we were trying to avoid graduations, we were trying to avoid the Juneteenth holiday.
But there must have been an earlier draft that had June 18th, because I already had it in my calendar as June 18th.
Okay.
Well, whatever.
Good enough, right?
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Now, at the end of the day, it became a question of space really being available.
So you're
Okay.
just gonna try not to schedule
We'll
high
try to-
school?
We'll try to find a, I don't know, maybe you guys will have a daycare or, something big and out of town that we can
Thanks a
schedule
lot.
that day. Yeah, it's unfortunate, but it's just unfortunate just how that particular date fell. Without kind of falling way out of sync and entertaining, back-to-back weeks or a Thursday or a Friday or something kind of nutty.
We'll do
in
the
that
best
regard.
we can.
So, slog through that. Okay, so do we have a motion to approve the amended zoning board of adjustment 2024 meeting schedule?
Moved.
Second?
Second.
Thank you.
Chairman Spur,
Yes.
Vice Chairman Steiner,
Yes.
Ms. Newell,
Yes.
Mr. Gonzalez,
Yes.
Mr. Mullen,
Abstain.
Mr. Malay,
Yes.
Mr. Loikett,
Yes.
Ms. Toth,
Yes.
Ms. Sager,
I'll abstain.
and Mr. Yuko.
Yes.
The motion carries.
Wonderful. All right, we're going to move now into executive session.
Before we do that, can I take a moment to, on the record and still on television, to thank those folks who, that this is their last zoning board meeting. I know a number of you are heading off to other agencies, other committees, other boards, and some are doing some retirement situations of their city volunteerism. But all of you should have our appreciation for all the time and effort that you put in. And
Here, here.
I would like to put a motion on the floor to congratulate and thank all of the retiring board members.
Second.
And I think a voice vote is appropriate. All those in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Good.
All right.
Thank you all.
Thank you very much, Joe.
Thank you.
There you go. All right.
Now you can adjourn.
Everyone in the audience.
They're on television and it
I'm
goes
sure
in
they're all
minutes.
watching.
That's true.
And you're here to hear it.
That's right. Thank you, Joe. All right, the last item of business is then we're going to enter into executive session where we will discuss primarily RFQs. This is professional services for the year ahead that would be approved at the reorganization meeting in January. So with that, we need a vote to enter into it. We'll note that we're not going, when we adjourn from executive session, we will not entertain any further public business. We'll adjourn the meeting. So I also let Jay leave for the night, which is good, and let Andy leave too. So I need a motion then to enter into executive session.
So
So-
moved.
Excellent. There's a second?
Second.
Third, fourth? Yeah.
That's next 20th.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, Andy, thanks for coming out. It's early night here.